Washington football fans, welcome to another video. Well, it looks like the Washington football team is likely to be moving to Virginia. Now, why do I say that? Well, simply put, if you look at what happened this week in the elections, Virginia elected a new governor, a Republican governor, and I just believe that with this change in Virginia and also electing a lieutenant governor who is also conservative Republican, the first black female lieutenant governor for Virginia. So congrats to Virginia for that. That's a historic event there. But getting back to this stadium thing, we know that there had been talks in the past about Virginia, Maryland, and of course trying to build another stadium back in DC. It seems like Dan Snyder's had a lot of has had a lot of opposing views, I guess you would say, from some of these politicians, especially the ones in DC. They didn't want Dan Snyder to move the stadium or move the team back into DC until they changed the name. And of course, you know, that started the whole I will never change the name, you can print that in bold letters thing. And of course, we know how that went. But even then, I think there was still some opposing views about having Dan Snyder firmly implanted back in DC. Maryland, of course, you know, right now the team is stationed in Maryland. But, you know, Maryland, more and more, you look at that state, they are pro-Baltimore Ravens. I mean, for the most part, they already have a professional football team. So I realized, yeah, you can have two professional football teams in one state. I mean, you know, look at California. But, you know, here's the thing. I really believe that now that like I said, the elections are over, you're going to have Dan Snyder talking to the new governor of Virginia. He's probably already, you know, made his appointment. He doesn't even have to get on, was it Redskins 1 or whatever it is. You know, just a short drive down to the state of Virginia. I really believe this is probably likely what's going to happen. At least right now, Virginia has probably gotten a leg up on anywhere else. Now, you know, honestly, if it's not Virginia, I think it's either not going to happen or Dan Snyder's going to do the unthinkable and he's going to wind up moving the team out west somewhere. Who knows? I mean, I'm certainly a lot of Washington football fans in one way would be very happy for that to happen. So as long as they got an expansion club, but there's no, I mean, honestly, there's no guarantee that you would. I mean, look at the baseball, right? I mean, they finally got a baseball team, but didn't it take them a while? So it's not to say that it's going to be another Cleveland Browns, you know, situation where, you know, the Browns up and move to Baltimore, become the Ravens, and then a short while later, a few years later, they have another Cleveland Browns again. That just doesn't happen every single day. And so, you know, you can wish for Dan Snyder to move the team completely out of the region, and then that region may not have another football team for a while. It may just all become Baltimore Ravens. So I think, honestly, at this point, if you are a football fan of the Washington football team, at least for now, they're dropping like flies as we speak. Then I think that you would get on board and you would really want the Washington football team to move to Virginia. I think Virginia would be most accommodating. Virginia has never had a professional football team before. And Virginia has a lot of great college football programs in the state. And the state is I'm going to say it, the state has always been pro-Redskins. So having said that, Virginia really is the winner in all of this. Now, exactly where they would build it. Now, I would have to look because I'm not as up on Northern Virginia as what a lot of you folks who watch this channel probably are. I was born and raised in Southern Virginia, so my knowledge of Virginia goes from the southern borders, on up through maybe Charlottesville at the point, Richmond, of course, and I realize that's more Northern Virginia, but I don't know those areas as well. I could see the Washington football team moving closer to a Richmond area, Virginia Beach area. I mean, that would really be a huge boost for those areas as well. And, for me, living in North Carolina, it would be a little bit closer drive as well. It wouldn't be that big of a drive for me as much as it is now. And, I mean, why roll out even moving the team further into Central Virginia? Now, at that point, you would find it hard-pressed probably to continue calling them the Washington whatever. At that point, you would probably have to change it to the Virginia Red Wolves or whatever it is, wherever it's going to be. And honestly, I would be fine with that. I mean, really, Virginia Red Wolves, Virginia Wolves, I mean, sounds good to me. Honestly, it does. So I would be all up for that. And I know it's a change. I know that a lot of fans of this team, there's a lot of fans who are fans because they're the home team. They are a part of that DMV area. They grew up in Northern Virginia, or they, the southern part of Maryland, or right smack dab in DC. So they are fans of the team because it's their hometown team. Others were fans of the team because they love the Redskins moniker. And, they don't care if the team had gotten moved to Texas or the team had gotten moved to Washington State. They would still root for the Redskins. And so a lot of those fans really have not been as big of fans since the name got dropped. And then you have fans like me who, I like the whole Washington Redskins thing, but I didn't grow up in that area. I did grow up in Virginia, so they were the regional team on TV week in, week out. But if they had moved, it wouldn't matter to me as much as long as I got to see them play every single week. But I think I kind of fall into the moniker camp a little bit more because, that's what I knew them as. The logo was familiar to me, the team colors, the name, and all that stuff. So, you can move them to Timbuktu, and if I see, the logo, the design, all that stuff, I'm like, that's my team. Now that they have dropped all of that, except for the colors, if they wind up moving to, let's say, St. Louis, that could always be a possibility, folks. Could, but I really think they'll move to Virginia. But let's just say they move to St. Louis. Well, they're no longer the Washington Redskins at all. They're no longer the Washington anything. They're the St. Louis, Red Wolves. I mean, it could happen. So then, does that completely kill the fan base? The fan base is already dead as it is, but would it completely put the nail in the coffin for this franchise? How many folks would continue to be loyal supporters of the team, knowing that the team's no longer in the DC metropolitan area? They're out, Midwest somewhere or wherever. They're just no longer in this area, so you're not going to be watching them on TV week in and week out anymore, unless you're finding streams on the internet or you're buying an NFL Sunday ticket. So it's interesting, but I really believe Virginia has won in this battle with the state, with the stadium. Now it comes down to the fact of what sponsor is going to have their names on the stadium, or is Dan Snyder going to pull the most ego trip thing in this world and call it the Dan Snyder Stadium. Could you imagine? The Dan Snyder Stadium. Wow. No, please, no. I would love it. Like if this team is going to be called the Red Wolves, I would rather it be called the Wolf Den. You know, call it the Wolf Den. Break away from this all sponsored name thing for stadiums. I just think it's just not personal at all. You know, I just don't like it. I like it when the names, you know, were named for either, you know, some great person, great individual, or just, you know, named for that specific team. To me, that's hardcore NFL. All these teams or all these stadiums that are named after their sponsors is just so commercialized. I mean, it just makes me sick. So I just think it would be dope to have the team in Virginia called the Red Wolves, that new stadium called the Wolf Den, and roll with that, man. That would be awesome. Well, I've got to go. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know what you think. Washington football team likely moving to Virginia, building that new stadium in Virginia. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. Do you approve of this? Disapprove? Does it make you sick? Does it make you happy? Let me know. As always, please consider subscribing to this channel, and I will see you in the next one as my cats behind me are playing.